Turning 25 today? Nice. Oh, happy birthday. Time to give every champion I have Oath. Some good ones for Oath. Samira is really, really good with it, actually, because with your cost reduction from your powers, you can pretty much play whatever champion you want. You use Oath, Double Star Gem, and Samira, so you already have a good amount of cost reduction, and then with this, you can play pretty much any champion. So Samira is one of the standouts with Oath. Diana is another one, because Diana, if you have her at 3 stars, when you play someone that has that quick attack, they get double attack, and there's a lot of champions that have quick attack already, so you can get double attack on your champions. So Diana is another one that works out really good with it. Ekko can be decent as well, because with your predicts, you can try to fish for them a little bit more, and then if you have them at 6 stars, you can double their stats again. So Ekko's another one that's really good. And then it is a pretty general one that you can really throw on whoever you want, but definitely, especially like Diana and Samira are some of the ones that I think are a bit more stand out. Yeah, they are pretty good. But yeah, it's pretty good on a lot of people. Started playing Janna more often. She's so funny playing 7 cost spells for 0. Yeah, Janna is one that if you put the time into her, she is incredible. But 100% leveling her up definitely sucks. I will totally agree with that. But once you get her up there, if you can throw some epic relics on her, she gets insane. She's one of the ones that once she gets her 6 star, she's going to be unstoppable. Right now, she just gets shut down by the enemy having 2 massive of units. But, yeah, with her 6 star, she should be amazing. Remember Janna on release, I kept decking out. I was so stupid. I mean, it is pretty easy to do that. Yeah, you have to be careful. I struggle leveling Kayn. I have him at 2 stars. Any relic recommendations? So for Kayn, Stalker's Blades are very nice, so you can try to get a kill. Also, just going for some simple stat relics. So like the Warhammer, throwing this on so you give him some more health and some more damage, because he has a really low damage. Just a flat stat relic can also be pretty good. Another one that is solid is the Berserker's Buckle. When I survive damage, grant me 2/2. Going for this can be pretty good because you have the Challenger, but you don't have quick attacks. So you're normally going to be taking a hit back. This can also help you get some scaling. Generally, though, trying to go for some Stalker's Blades and potentially pairing this with just stat relics so you can try to get Kayn on the board and try to get some kills can be quite helpful. All right, so for today, I've been working on my different relic videos. So I recently updated my one that's giving you all of the best relic combinations for when you, like your first common relic, your first rare relic, and then your first common and rare relic combination to help people for all the champions when they're leveling up. Today, I want to go through and do the best like double rare relic combinations for all the champions, and then the best double rares and common relics. Now, it's always great talking to a bunch more people because there's normally some suggestions that I wouldn't think of, and then it's like, oh yeah, that is a good idea. So starting off with Jinx, I think probably the best combination for just 2 rare relics, I would say, would be Loose Cannon's Payload, and then pairing that with either a Scourge's Stash to get her on the board earlier, or you could go for a Luden's in order to just give her more damage. So I think for Jinx, going for Loose Cannon's Payload and then one of these 2 is probably her best setup for when you get 2 rare relics. That would kind of be my go-to. What are you guys thinking? Ludens was my go-to rare before I got Scourge. Yeah, Ludens feels pretty good on Jinx. Hey, Kata fan, welcome. And then I think for common relics to pair with this, I'd actually probably say you want to go for Lost Chapter. Because when you play Jinx, if you have Loose Cannon's payload, she's going to make 2 super mega death rockets. She makes 1 from leveling, but then she makes another one from her second star powers. So having the mana to play this is pretty important. So I would say for here, the Scourge's stash, you potentially swap this out. You either keep this or you use a Ludens. And then I think the best common relic to pair with that would be Lost Chapter. Yeah, that's my guess. I waste my rockets frequently. Yeah, you have to always be careful of that. I was told Riptide Battery is good on her. I think Riptide Battery is solid, but I definitely think Loose Cannon's payload is better. So yeah, I think we'll go for this for Jinx. There's some champions that are a bit different. So there's some that it's not really a combo. You're just putting on rare relics that work well individually, and so you can kind of mix and match. But then there's some champions where it is more of a combination, and with Jinx, she's one that you are kind of comboing these together. So you're comboing the Scourge's stash because she triggers Plunder so easily, so you can get her on the board earlier, so you can then trigger her really powerful effect of Loose Cannon's payload. Yeah, I think the Jinx was pretty good, and we're just gonna go down in order. Yeah, Jinx is great with the 4 stars for that reason too. Oh yeah, that's... Jinx the 4-star is great for not losing your rockets anymore. That is really, really good. But for this sort of build, I'm kind of expecting that people aren't going to have champions above 3 stars. So for stuff like Jinx and the sorcery, since this is more of people while they're leveling the champions, I'm expecting they have them at 3 stars max for the video. That's kind of the framework I'm going with. Oh yeah, the new layout without sorting is awful. I use Chemtech on Jinx, but gain to 6 mana doesn't happen a lot. Yeah, that's kind of the issue. You normally end the games before that's the point. I need to open LOR to actually theorycraft for this. Alright, let's go for Swain. And I feel like for Swain, you would probably want to go for like the Jhin setup of Gatebreaker plus Riptide. I think this is probably your like go-to setup for your first double rares. I think this is probably the most powerful combination you can go with. That would kind of be my guess. Yeah, for more indirect damage. Grand General's counterplan could be good with Swain in my head. Grand General's counterplan is good, but for like a double combination of rare relics to put together, I think this is probably going to be the best, because this one, you hit the enemy Nexus, so you're reducing down their health. That's triggering your Nexus Strike to reduce it down even more. And then your Riptide Battery can scale off the Nexus damage you've done. These can trigger since they're scales your star powers. And yeah, I think this is probably the best combination you can do. The best build, in my opinion, is Gatebreaker Riptide and the 2/0 mana spells that deal 1 to the enemy Nexus. Oh, you mean, yeah, the chase guns, Dreadweight chase guns. Yeah, those are solid, but we only have 2 rare relics. We're not doing full builds at the moment, because this is just for people while they're leveling. But yeah, Dreadweight chase guns are another one that are solid. Yeah, this is surely the best. We're going for the best. Yes, we're trying to show the best builds. As far as the common relic, Like, Lost Chapter is nice. Ravenous Hydra is more out of combat damage, so that could contribute to his level up more. Or Chameleon's Necklace. I think it's probably a little bit more of a toss-up. Yeah, I think there's a couple different ones you could go with. And in the video, that is something I will generally mention. If I think there's different ways you could go, I'll probably try to shout that out. But I think this is probably the best setup for double rares and then double rares with a common. Will Everfrost be good on him? I don't think it's normally as required because Swain already can stun people so much. Like, Everfrost is just a good all-around common relic. Like, it's giving you a little bit of control, so it's not like it's bad. I just don't think it's quite as needed. Like, you'd rather focus with, like, your Ravenous Hydra on just making sure he's leveled. That way he can just keep proccing those stuns for you. By the way, is impact counting like out of combat damage? I don't know if that works or not. Imagine the AI with Swain. You summon him, he slaps your Nexus, shoots 5 salvos, and then 2 more cannons fire. He levels up, spreads his map, bangs it like a madman. Yeah. All right, I think this is a pretty good setup for Swain. Let's go for Viego, and also we're not considering epic relics. Again, we're considering these are leveling up the champion, and if they have epic relics, they haven't unlocked them on the champion yet, so we're just really looking at rare and commons. Corrupted Star, yeah, Corrupted Star Fragment is very good. I feel like Viego is one of those where it's actually not really a combination. Like, the last couple champions we've looked at, they've been comboing together. Whereas I feel like Viego is more of one where there's just a bunch of good rare relics, and you can kind of swap them out for whatever you're looking at. Like, Stalkers is good, but since we're considering that they probably don't have, like, we're trying to consider that they don't have anyone above 4 stars, Corrupted Star or Troll King's Crown would be probably what they would have to do. Yeah, Troll King's Crown is probably one that's solid. I think this one for the video, I'll mention both of these, and then I'll also mention like Gatebreaker and Stalker's Blade. Because with Viego, you can kind of just swap in and out some of these, and they work out well. And I'd kind of feel like for Viego, you'd potentially want to go for Chameleon's Necklace just to make sure you actually draw and play your Viego, because he is, especially if he's your way to get Overwhelm, he is your main win condition. So I feel like you just need to make sure you're actually playing him, otherwise you're going to feel way weaker. Utmost Despair, maybe people don't have those relics. Utmost Despair or Wicked Harvest? Because I feel like Wicked Harvest would be better than Utmost Despair. But I know they look alike, so I don't know if you're mixing them up. Yeah, Wicked Harvest. Blade Rack is another one that is solid, but I don't think Blade Rack is... I think this is one that you want to get if you already have Overwhelm. I think Overwhelm is just kind of flat out better for Viego because your units are getting so much power that you really need them to punch through. Yeah, I would say that Blade Rack is really good, but I think Overwhelm is kind of your top priority. Yeah, Gatebreaker is really good. Hello, Grape Master. Yes, so Gatebreaker is good, and that's probably some other ones that I'm going to recommend. The Viego one isn't going to be quite as straightforward as some of the other people we've looked at, just because, yeah, he's kind of one that's a little bit more of a mix and match. Hey, Rivi. Gonna lurk a while. because I don't know much about this at level 13. Well, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go for Viego. Most of the other champions we've looked at, it's been like, this is the best. With Viego, it's going to be a little bit more for personal preference. All right, let's look at Jace. For Jace, I think Chemtech Duplicator is a must because, I mean, you normally gain to 6 mana and you want more things being doubled. I also, Crown Guard is actually really good as well. Have no clue on Jace. Haven't really played Jace much. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people haven't really touched Jace. My Viego build is Wicked Harvest, Stalkers, and Crown. Nice. When you say Crown, I don't know if you mean Troll King's Crown or Crown Guard Inheritance, though. So yeah, for Jace, I would say Chemtech Duplicator and Crown Guard Inheritance. And then, yeah, I would say Lost Chapter for the common. Because with Jace, when you play 2 6er cost spells, you level. When I level up, create an acceleration gate in hand. Normally what you do with Jace, for one, when he's leveled, now when you play a 6 cost spell, copy with the same targets. So you level Jace, he makes this acceleration gate, you play it, and then Jace doubles it, and then if you Chemtech Duplicate, it also doubles. And then you really want to have the rally so you can attack and play it right away. This is, yeah, a pretty powerful rare relic combination. Yeah, Deceiver's Crest, not good because it would be cost reduced. Hey, Jump. Would it be nice if it was base cost instead of current? Yes, yes it would. Yeah, I'm thinking for rare relics, this is probably your best go-to setup. Yeah, I think we'll go with this. Counter plan for the 6+ spam. So the reason Jace doesn't really want Archangel's Staff or counter plan, it's not that they're bad, but normally with Jace, once you have him on the board, you're normally ending very shortly after. Like normally you have Jace on the board and then that round or the round after he's leveling. So going for like Archangel Staff, Arcane Comet, Grand General's Counterplan, any of those, they're only really activating like one time, which normally, like if you're going to have a relic only activate once, you'd rather go for a relic that already only activates once but gives you a really strong benefit than something that's supposed to give you more of a benefit the longer the game goes on. So it's not as needed. Also with like Grand General's Counterplan, yes, this is making a copy of his champion spell every round while Jace is on the board. You already have ways to generate spells. For one, when Jace levels, you want to be playing his Acceleration Gate, not his Shock Blast. So he's already making a 6 cost for you to play once he's leveled. And then before he's leveled, you already have 6 costs in your deck, and you're generating a 6 or higher cost card every round. So you just really don't need to rely on the Grand General's Counterplan. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just not really needed. What would you recommend for a third rare relic? I think going for Scourge's Stash actually isn't bad to try to get Jace on the board a little bit earlier. Normally, he already gets 2 cost reduction from your star powers. So with Scourge's Stash, you could then drop him for 0 mana. So that one's not terrible. Going for like Crown Guard for allies having Overwhelm, also not bad. Not quite as needed because normally you're able to generate that anyways. You could also go for Tempest Blade, so Crown Guard, you don't have to worry about, like, when he levels, he rallies and stuns the entire enemy board, so you don't have to worry about blockers. So Tempest Blade would be another solid option for your third one. Blade Rack is fine as well. Yeah, if I had to go for a rare relic, I would probably go for the Tempest Blade. But yeah, this is probably what I'd do for Jace's setup. Jace is that guy. He comes and the party is over, pretty much. He's very good at finishing or closing out games for you. Alright, Vayne for rare relics. I feel like Vayne is another one where there's kind of a lot of different ways you can go. Like, Archangel Staff isn't bad. Flat Stats isn't bad. Crown Guard is good as well. Going for Berserker's Buckle, this is also good. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go with Vayne. Him, I've never really used him on Vayne. I mean, I feel like it would be fine. Hate Vayne, can't speak. My opinion, Vayne really needs quick attack, common relic to shine. Yes, like going for either Rage Blade, Lost Chapter, or just going for like a quick attack. There's kind of some different setups you can go for. So quick attack can be really nice, but you can also go for like Challenger. It kind of just depends on how you want to be playing your Vayne. You can go for like Berserker's Buckle plus Challenger, so that Vayne is going to be taking damage, but she's constantly going to be scaling because of it, which isn't bad. But if you don't want her to take damage, you can get rid of Berserker's Buckle. You can throw on the quick attack. Yeah, if you want to use your tumbles, going for Archangel Staff isn't bad. Because she makes this 4-cost tumble, which sucks that it's a 4-cost, but you will pretty much have the mana to be able to play it. Also, Crown Guard isn't bad. You can level her up pretty consistently in your second round. So if you want to try to end very quickly, there is always that. I would say there's a kind of like Crown Guard is for trying to close out games as fast as possible. So you wouldn't necessarily want Archangel Staff and Crown Guard together. Yeah, honestly, with Vayne, there's kind of a lot of different ways you can go with it. Corrupted Star Fragment, not bad to buff her up. Just going for a Warhammer to give her a bit better stats is also decent. Oh yeah, the 4-cost... The fact that they nerfed this to be 4-cost is terrible. Like, that's why it's so good in her Constellation that gets reduced back down to like a 2-cost, actually, which is fantastic. Vayne is definitely one that she is messy early. She's really good with the Constellation because she's kind of back to how she used to be. Because when she first released, she was an absolute monster. She destroyed everything. It was so much fun, but they had to just nerf her over and over and over again. And one of the things they hit was her tumble, which is pretty bad. Yeah, Vayne is kind of one where there's like a lot of different problems to solve, and you can only solve so many with your build. Yeah, it's a little messy. I would say for a common relic, going for Stormrazor or Rageblade is often the best. Rageblade is especially good just because you attack so many times with Vayne. And then as far as relics, any stat relics are good. Troll King's Crown, also very nice. Going for, honestly, Grand General's Counterplan's not bad. Berserker's Buckle's not bad. Archangel's Staff. Yeah, there's a lot of different ones, but I don't think there's necessarily like one best rare relic build. Vayne is one that you actually want to be able to get some epic relics on there, but we can't really consider that for this video. Yeah, all the nerfs for Vayne were PvP nerfs. Yeah, I think Vayne is a messy one, and I'll just take a bit of time in the guide to have to explain a lot of the different things to do with her. It's not as clear-cut as many other champions. Moving on to Atrox, he's another one where there's kind of a lot of different ways you can go with him. Like, these are all solid. I think one of the ones I would go with, though, Crown Guard is really strong early on, because when he levels, he not only gets a bunch of extra stats, but then your Darkened allies cost 5 less. So fairly often, as soon as you level, if you rally, you just end the game. What's your usual build with her for no limitations? So for Vayne with Epic Relics, I normally go for Chosen by the Stars, because Fade and Augment gives you great scaling. You hit the Empower 10 incredibly quickly. I go for Death's Foil for the +1, helps you trigger your Chosen a little bit faster. And the added protection is quite nice because you're attacking so many times. So just not getting worn down by the enemy is very good. And then for the last one, I go for Lost Chapter to instantly refill spell mana, because with her Constellation, somewhere in here, your Tumble has Tear of the Goddess, so only costs 2 mana. So if you have Lost Chapter, you can immediately Tumble round 1, which is fantastic. So that's my Vayne build. Anyway, so for Atrox, Berserker's Buckle is very good for Atrox because you're taking a lot of damage, also because of his champion spell. So there's kind of a couple different ways to go. For one, you can go Berserker's Buckle plus Grand General's Counterplan, because then you're making his champion spell every round. You're getting a lot of scaling off of it. It works really well. So these two pair very well together. You can also go for Archangel Staff if you want to try to get some more mana. So if you don't care about the scaling, you can pair these two together. Crown Guard, though, is just a very solid standalone relic, but it's still quite good. So honestly, going for like Crown Guard plus potentially Troll King's Crown would be a good just like general supporting build where you're helping all your units have overwhelm, and then as soon as you level, you just rally and end the game. So that's a powerful combination. So I think I'd recommend going for something like this, or going for the Grand General's Counterplan plus Berserker's Buckle. So right here and there. That's going to be giving you more control, giving you more scaling for your Atrox. And you could also, if you just wanted to go simple, you can just go for strike relics like Stalker's Blade, also pretty solid. Yeah, Stalker's Blade, also good. Lets Atrox often get a kill. He gives you a little bit of a heal, and then he's giving you that cost reduction. Yeah, Stalker's Blade is also very solid. Yeah, Atrox has a couple different ways to go for him. As far as common relics, Chameleons is pretty nice, because not only is it giving you more chances to draw your Atrox, and you want Atrox in your opening hand, so even though he's expensive, having him in your opening hand so that you can get some cost reduction on him is really good. But if you get more copies of him, then you get more of his champion spell, which is excellent. So Chameleon's Necklace is pretty good. Rage Blade is okay. Yeah, I think Chameleon's Necklace is probably the best common for most situations. Yeah, Atrox is one. There's several different builds you can kind of go with him, and they all are very strong. All right, next up we have Ashe. And I'd probably say for Ashe, the best combination is just these two right here, because then you're making a flash freeze every round. Goodness. So you're making a flash freeze every round that you can use, and then you always have the mana to play with it. I would say this is probably the best rare relic combo. Her champ spell is just so strong. Yeah. Good evening, Toast. Hey, Vexine. So yeah, for Ashe, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. This would be my go-to relic setup for having two relics. As far as commons, Chameleon's is always solid. Lost Chapter also solid. Or Banshee's Veil for the protection. I'd probably say one of those. Either doing this to try to save your Ashe and make sure she's going to be okay. Could be viable if you're going up against like an Aurelian Soul. You could go for Lost Chapters. You can try to play some of your spells immediately upon playing her. Or go for Chameleon's Necklace. You just get more Ashe. Maybe like Storm Razor, she's a big attack stack, but low HP. Yes, but normally with Ashe, the enemy either can't block because they're all frostbitten, or you can choose your block because of your second star power. I guess it's your third star power, the vulnerable. So you're right that she has a high attack stat and low HP. Normally that doesn't really matter as far as attacking. Like having Storm Razor and that quick attack isn't really going to be the thing that normally is helping you. Just leveled Diana. What's your build for her? She's still level 12. If you're just 12 with Diana, then I would go for Chameleon's Necklace, because you want to be sure you're getting your Diana. And then as far as your other build, just having Overwhelm isn't bad. That's pretty good to help you end games fairly quickly, so that would just be a decent solid one. You could go for Grand John's counter plan, but yeah, I'd probably just go for Troll Kings, to be honest. Yeah, I'd probably just go like this. For Diana level 12, pretty simple and straightforward. With double attack, or when she gets double attack from your star powers, having Overwhelm is incredibly important so that your second attack doesn't get fizzled out. Alright, so we talked about Ashe. Next up we have Darius. And he's one that, yeah, you still potentially just want to go for common relics on him. Like having extra rerolls is very good. Having Star Child Staff, also very good. For rare relic combos, I wouldn't really do a double combo for Darius. Like, I suppose you could use Gatebreaker. Gatebreaker could be fine. In general, though, the common relics are actually really good. Diana without Oath is useless. You were there on stream, just like when I finished the monthlies. I used Diana without Oath and annihilated everything. So So yeah, you're trolling. Diana is one of the strongest champions, or definitely used to be one of the strongest champions in the game. So yeah, for Darius, I think if you want to do a double relic combo, you can do Gatebreaker plus Crown Guard. In actuality, though, just going for extra rerolls so you can get the right powers, or going for some Star Child Staff or a mix of the two is honestly going to be better for you, just with how Darius works as a champion, especially just at 3 stars or below. I'm close to getting him to his 5th star. That's going to be fun. All right, so we have Ekko, and he is an interesting one. I think maybe recommending these two would potentially be the way to go. Because with Ekko, your games often go to the 6 mana point. You have a lot of very powerful spell combos that, like, reviving all of your units twice, really good, because if you don't have a full board, you then can often revive duplicates of your units. Like, both of these being doubled is great if you don't have a full board. If you do have a full board, that's kind of wasted. But I'm potentially thinking these two for Ekko. What are you guys thinking? I feel like Strike Relics are just good on everyone. Yeah, that's... Throwing Stalker's Blade on almost any champion is very good. Maybe Grand General's Counterplan for more predicts. Potentially, yeah. I feel like probably sticking with Archangels, and then based on your personal preference, you can get rid of this and get Grand General's Counterplan. Yeah, I feel like one of these two and then Archangels would be solid. And then as far as common relics, once again, getting more copies of him is good because he has very powerful spells. Going for Lost Chapter to play spells right away, also not bad. But then going for something like Challenger, so you have his quick attack Challenger combo, to be able to safely attack and get the best trades would also be good. Yeah, we're not considering epic relics because this is a video focused for people leveling their champions. Yeah, so there's epic relics that are definitely way better than this, but we're not considering epics for this video. I don't have 3 epic slots on all champions yet, but I'm getting close. I've been working on that. Yeah, I have like probably like 23 Spirit Forges. This is close to the amount I need. Yeah, in my off time, that's something I've been working on. So yeah, I think for Ekko, going for Counterplan and Archangel Staff or Chemtech Duplicator. And then as far as your common relics, going for either Challenger, Chameleon's Necklace, or Lost Chapter, based on your personal preference, would all be kind of the go-to pick for Ekko. Yeah, I've also been buying Spirit Forges every day since I got pretty much all epic relics from Reliquaries. Yeah, same. I've been buying them on cooldown for a while now. Alright, Gwen, this is going to be pretty simple and straightforward. Going for these two, like, this here is the best rare relic build for her, really. And you could swap both of these if you wanted and go for like Crown Guard and Overwhelm and still be fine. Or you can go for like this, Crown Guard and Luden's Tempest. Or even potentially Troll King's Crown and Luden's. I think I'll probably stick with the Crown Guard Inheritance and then use one of these two. So gives you a little bit of flexibility. If you have one of them, you'll be fine. But this combo right here is so good for Gwen. And then, as usual, I'd probably recommend either going for chameleons or going for spell shield, because you just want to make sure your Gwen doesn't get shut down. So going for one of those two as far as your common relic would be kind of the go-to play. I feel like the main idea behind Ekko is the predict gameplay. So doubling down with Grand Challenge Counterplan plus staff supports that gameplay the most. Yeah, it's probably going to be the first one I go with. I feel like if you want more sustain, you want to go for Ludens. If you want aggressive fast wins, you go Crown Guard. So you still, especially with Crown Guard, you're still going to get a lot of healing. You don't necessarily need the Ludens for that. Because with Gwen, you attack, you get your attack stat increased because you're hallowed. You attack, you level up, you rally, and then you attack again that same round, so your attack is then boosted even more. So since your drain scales off of your extra power, where is it? Yeah, drain 1 from the enemy nexus for every 2 power I have. Since you have so much extra power, since you're getting your hallowed off twice in a round, and Gwen can benefit from hallowed twice already from her star powers, and right here when an ally gains power from hallowed, you're still getting a ton of drain even without Ludens. So it's not like you need Ludens for the extra drain. Like, it still helps, but you're normally going to be fully healing regardless of if you have Ludens or not. So yeah, there is some options here. You can get rid of this and just go for the overwhelm and still be doing perfectly fine. Morgana is going to be pretty simple and straightforward. You just want to use this here. Being sure you have your Dark Binding you're making every round, and then the mana to cast it is... yeah, pretty simple. And then for the common relic, I think it's not really much of an option. I think you have to go with chameleons, because you have to be sure you get your Morgana. And then if you get your Morgana, having more copies of her champion spell is great. I feel like this is kind of the go-to for her. Personally love using Comment on her, hardcore removal for long games. Interesting. Chemtech helps the level up. I would say Chemtech helps and is good, but I don't think I'd want to replace Chemtech with Grand General's Counterplan. You could maybe get rid of the Archangel Staff. You're just going to have struggle with casting some more spells. But you could potentially replace Archangel Staff for the Duplicator. But I feel like you have to have Counterplan to consistently get those spells. Otherwise, you're just going to run out of things to play. So it doesn't even matter if they're getting doubled or not. Yeah, you need to keep playing this card to curse enemies, stun enemies, and then get the invoke. It's pretty important. I think the Comment is a good spell and can help you out, but I think it's going to be a little bit more niche. I think, yes, there's going to be specific adventures and encounters where it can really help you out, but I think for a general relic recommendation, it's still a bit too niche to be like, oh, this is the go-to relic. But I do agree that it can really help you out. I would say for Morgana, though, this is probably really the go-to setup for you. All right, Nico. Nico's going to be an interesting one. I feel like you could go for double orbs plus just like either chameleons or Lost Chapter, because then you can play Nico Level 1, she refills your mana. You then play her champion spell to get another copy of her and trigger essentially 4 Guardian Orbs turn 1. I feel like this would be the... If you wanted to go for Guardian Orbs, this is when you can really have that come online and be fine. Can we do Transmogulator? Transform my supported ally into a random follower that costs 3 more. I think that's fine, but I'm not really seeing any great synergies on her. Because this isn't going to necessarily be turned into something that has a subtype you actually care about. Yeah, we can't use Grand General's Counterplan and double Guardian Orbs because we're only considering 2 rare relics and then a common relic. This isn't like a full level 30 build yet. Trying to make new subtype gets units to be stronger, I thought. I mean, it's going to be very random because this is just transforming them into a random follower. I feel like most units don't have a subtype, so I feel like that's not really going to be too helpful for you. So yeah, this is the Guardian Orb build if you want to go for that. Corrupted Star Fragment is pretty solid though for buffing up Nico. So I feel like you can use that. Trying to think, I feel like I'm missing some of the other common relics that work really well on her. For Nico, is there much of a point in playing her as something other than her? For this build, not really. If you are trying to level her up as fast as possible, then trying to get one of the cards you're not going to be able to get can help you out. So with Nico, you want to get your 6 different subtypes, and there's some that while you have them in your deck, you don't have them very easily. Like you have a bird here, but this is a 6-cost bird. So if you're transforming her and it gives you the option to be like a bird in order to get that attack in, it can help you out. That being said, Nico already has a subtype of Shapeshifter. So if you're not getting another unit attack with that subtype, then it can be fine just to keep her as is. But with your star powers, your 2-star, for each ally in your deck, if it is a subtype granted impact, otherwise it becomes a Shapeshifter. So if you have units in your deck that don't have a subtype, then they'll count as Shapeshifters. So that's how you can already get that going. So if you have other units attacking alongside you that are going to count as Shapeshifters, then you can try to disguise Nico as something else that you're probably not going to get. Normally like a bird. So there are times, yes, to transform her. It's not something you have to do necessarily every single time, though. Condenser, but then we already have that subtype. Yeah. Crown Guard can work, but I feel like we already end the game when she levels. Yeah, I feel like Corrupted Star Fragment, if you don't want to go for the Guardian Orb build, Corrupted Star Fragment would be decent. Just trying to think of what we'd want to pair that alongside. Troll King's Crown, allies have Overwhelm is always decent. Yeah, I might just stick with this here. There's some other good relics if you want to focus on her like subtypes, but a lot of those are more if you want to pair it with like the Beast Within, but we're not considering epic relics, so that kind of doesn't work. Yeah, Orb I think is going to probably be the best option, so I think we'll just stick with this for now. Alright, let's keep moving on. So Samira. Yeah, for Samira, I think I would stick with these two. Having Overwhelm for your third spot is nice, but Dreadway Chase Guns work really well to trigger your star powers, and also they really help you level up because they're just zero cost spells. So warning shots are excellent. Crown Guard Inheritance, I really like that to be able to level her and then attack with everyone. I think if you really wanted, you could swap that out earlier for the Overwhelm, but I think I'd stick with these two. As far as common relics, pretty simple to what we've already been talking about, but I think kind of the go-to is either Lost Chapter, because you do have a lot of spells to play. This can further help you level up. I think that's what I would go with, but I think Chameleon's Necklace would be another good option, since you want to be sure you can actually play your Samira. Now, I will say, if people have this unlocked, then they're past level 20, which means they have champion draw already. So Chameleon's Necklace isn't quite as important since they already have a higher chance of drawing their champion. So yeah, Lost Chapter is something that I think is going to be better, and this is probably going to be like the go-to setup. You can give her Plunder cost reduction for more comboing potential. So the issue with that is you want Samira to be on the board like as soon as possible. She's normally going to be the first card you play. With the Plunder Relic, Scourge's Stash, that means she's not going to be the first card you play. And if you're getting Plunder, that means you've already hit the enemy nexus. If you hit the enemy nexus, that means you've already triggered your Plunder cost reduction, so you don't need the Scourge's Stash. You can already play her for free from that cost reduction. If you're not using that cost reduction, that means you've already used two cards, one to activate Plunder, the other one to use the other Plunder cost reduction, and then you're playing Samira for your third card. So you've already then lost two cards that aren't contributing to Samira's level up, which I think is bad. So that's why I think Scourge's Stash isn't really a good pickup, at least if you are trying to level her up in the first couple rounds. My usual build with her, going for these two, and then Overwhelm from Troll Kings or Overwhelm from Beast Within. That's my normal build if I'm wanting to play Samira kind of as Samira and her like normal play style. But you also can go for Oath of the Guardians, and double Star Gems, and that is also incredibly strong with Samira. It works out super well. Here's a Star Gem. Champions of 1/1 cost 2 less. Because having two of these on Samira means you have 4 cost reduction if she's on the board for your champions. And then from her star powers, your Plunder reduce the cost of a champion. That gives you 3. So essentially you can have 7 cost reduction for your champions, meaning pretty much whatever champion you get, you're going to be able to play immediately. So yeah, Samira with Oath is also incredibly strong, which if her normal build is getting shut down by an encounter like Lysandra completely shuts down a build like this. Just totally shuts it down. Going for Oath there is incredibly good. Yeah, I think we'll stick with this for our Rare Relic build video. Talia is another one that I really like going for, like Crown Guard, and Blade Rack is really nice. Making sure all your units have the best trades, and then using Talia as a essentially rally when you play her, so you can just rush down the game. Normally with this, you can close out games when you play Talia, if not earlier, because often Talia can be a very non-champion dependent deck, which is pretty good. So yeah, I'd probably go for these two. And honestly, if you want to go for like really not needing to play Talia, you can just go for Star Child Staff, give you some built-in sustain. Really helps you since for your first couple rounds, you might not be able to take any blocks because your units are all still stuck in their landmarks. So if you take some chip damage early, Star Child Staff can really help you with that. You don't really need Chameleon's Necklace because you're not as reliant on playing Talia. Yeah, I think this is probably decent. We can go Ludens for rocks. It's not really worth it, to be honest. I would say that would only be good if you actually had Talia with her 6 stars. Her level up small amount of threaded volley isn't impactful enough, in my opinion, to increase the damage. Like, it's fine, but normally you can end the game without playing Talia at all, and so that Relic isn't really helping. With especially Crown Guard, it helps you close out the game if you're... It's kind of like a backup plan. If the game is going on a little bit longer and you actually end up playing Talia, then you can drop her, rally, and end. Normally with Talia, though, your units are kind of solid enough that you're fine. I will say the one thing, if you don't have her at 3 stars, you do have to go for Troll King's Crown. So this is like, if you have 2-star Talia, you need Overwhelm, you need Troll King's Crown. And then, yeah, if you actually plan on playing Talia more, going for something else like Chameleon's Necklace or Challenger can be decent. But yeah, often you can take some chip damage in the first couple rounds. Knowing you're going to heal that up can actually be pretty good. So yeah, there'll be a couple different caveats I'll have to add for Talia. Let's talk about Vex. Vex is going to be an interesting one, because especially with just your 3 stars, you are pretty rough. Potentially still say that the Jinx Relic, the Loose Cannons Payload, might be your best option. I mean, you could go for like Counterplan and Ludens. Normally I find Utmost Despair isn't impactful enough, because you grant all enemies gloom, but there's going to be a lot of times where they might not have any enemy units on the board, or they just have like 1 or 2, and so just dropping Vex to grant them gloom, normally you want something that's going to give you a bit more of impact. So having Loose Cannons Payload to be able to discard, get Pow Pows, and then be able to deal that damage to the enemy, especially once Vex is leveled, they essentially double the damage you're doing, since all your damage is gloom, at least all your spell damage. So now these Loose Cannons Payloads are doing 6 damage each time. Ludens can be nice, but I think you'd probably want to go for Grand General's Counterplan so you can get some of these glares, so you can start drawing some cards back, so you aren't necessarily just running out of cards. Yes, Chemtech. Chemtech is another one that is pretty good. I think there'd be a couple... It depends on what you're going up against with Vex. I think Chemtech is good if you're going up against, like, Lysandra or something that are these massive units. Because like I just said, Vex, when she's leveled, is doubling your damage of your spells. So this is going to be dealing 6 damage when Vex is leveled, which is going to be pretty early on. Most of the time, you're not going to need to double that again with Chemtech Duplicator to make that go for 12 damage. So Chemtech can often be overkill depending on what you're doing. But if you are going and trying to use Vex in these higher end adventures like Lysandra or Summer Guard's Aurelian Soul, but that's not normally quite as bad until Aurelian Soul himself, or you're going into like Swain, then Chemtech is going to be more important. But yeah, it's another one of those things of Chemtech is very good until it isn't. So if you're not even getting to the 6 mana, then obviously it's garbage. If you are then at the 6 mana, your spells are going off twice, but it doesn't matter because like your first pow is killing them anyway, so the second one isn't even doing anything, then it's like, okay, it no longer is helpful. So Chemtech is actually very good in specific circumstances. Yeah, with Vex, there's kind of a lot of different ways you want to go. Like, having both of these is nice. Having Archangel Staff for the mana is really nice. Being able to get your counterplan going, so you can get some more copies of Vex, get some of these glares. Also, counterplan kind of works as a safety net, so if someone kills your Vex, you then have this fleeting copy you can then immediately play again. Yeah, I think you'd potentially want to do something like this later on. Once you get started through Vex's constellation, then they have a lot of things in the constellation to help you out. And a lot of ways to just focus on getting other spells and skills, so you really don't have to rely on Loose Cannon's payload. But Vex below 3 stars still feels pretty rough, and I feel like probably need to be able to generate these extra spells. So yeah, I think I'd probably go for these two, and then I think I'd go for Chameleon's Necklace, or again the Lost Chapter. Having more copies of Vex is very good. You need to be sure you have Vex. Again, Lost or Chameleon's Necklace isn't quite as important since you're over level 20, so you're more likely to draw your Vex. But she has an absolute amazing champion spell, so getting more copies is actually very beneficial for you. But Vex can potentially level when you play her, so Loose Cannon's payload, well, this is going to go off immediately. So having Lost Chapter to immediately try to play some of these could be helpful. Yeah, I spent a lot of time when Vex first came out, playing a lot of different builds, trying to make her work. Because yeah, when she first came out, it was rough. So there's a lot we'll have to talk about during the guide video for Vex, because it's not as clear cut, and there are some different choices to be made here. But something like this is probably what you might want to go with while leveling. Yasuo. Goodness. Tempest Blade, I would say, is really the go-to. Tempest and Crown Guard is okay. Having Overwhelm is also really nice, because quite often you can stun some of their units, but they'll have someone to block you, and so they just block you out. But yeah, this can be good. I do like Grand General's counterplan, though. Like, it is giving you something that you can only use when the enemy attacks, but it is still really nice. I don't know. What are you guys thinking to pair with Tempest Blade? Also, just going for like a Stalker's Blade is also solid as well. Like, both these are good. Also, Overwhelm can be quite nice. Yeah, I feel like Tempest Blade is the most important one, and then After that, it's a little bit more flexible. I'd say for the rare relic, once again, or not rare, the common relic, you either want to go for Banshee's Veil to just protect your Yasuo since he's your main win condition, or go for the Chameleon's Necklace. Again, having Yasuo, making sure you draw him is incredibly important, but also his champion spell is excellent for you, and so you really want to get that. Even 3 Everfrost, yeah, I guess Everfrost, just throwing that on as well is pretty good. When I'm summoned, stun the strongest enemy. Yeah, that is solid. I suppose you could try to go for a build that is similar to this, of potentially you're already having enough units stunned that when you drop Yasuo, he stuns 1 more unit, levels up, rallies, and then you can attack and try to do a ton of damage. Yeah, Everfrost is solid, that is true. Especially since it's one of the few relics still on summon instead of play. Yeah, that is good point. Because then if you actually get the extra copies of Yasuo through like a Stabilize or Deathless, Shadow Totem, you get more value from it. Alright, let's go for Kaisa. Alright, for Kaisa, it is pretty simple and straightforward. I like going for these 2. And then Luden's is good, but I would still prefer these 2 over it. Just because with Kaisa, from your star powers, you have the effect that allies with 3 or more positive keywords have 2/2. So by having these 2 relics, you're giving your units at least 2 keywords. So as long as they have 1, they can get that extra 2/2 just for like having these strong effects, but also having the board-wide scaling. I think that's better than just having the Ludens. Ludens is definitely good for you, though. And I think for like common relics, once again, a lot of different ways you can go because there's so many keyword ones. Now, Dreams of Yordles is giving you 2 keywords, so that alone is pretty impactful. So I'd say that is probably your best bet to go with, but if you really want a specific keyword, you can grab that through here, but having 2 keywords is probably the best for you. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. Let's see. Kaisa. All right, next up we have Pike. So for Pike, just going for Stalker's Blades are solid. I would potentially go for like maybe double Stalkers and like a Ravenous Hydra actually is okay. But what I have done before is double Stalkers plus Soul Spear, so that you're getting just a little bit of extra power, so you're trying to level him up a little bit more. I would say it's simple and straightforward, but trying to get those extra strikes off just really helps you level him up a little bit faster. Also, I would say with your new star powers, since you're getting more damage from your lurking, it's going to make a build like this with the Stalkers feel even better. I've always used Ludens on Kaisa early due to the high amount of tough enemies in early adventures. Interesting. So you can, depending on your personal preference, switch out a Stalker's Blade for a stat relic. Yeah, normally don't want the Fist, normally you want the Warhammer for the extra damage. So if you want more upfront damage, you could go for a Warhammer. But I think with the recent change to Pike's abilities, his star powers, getting the extra scaling from that makes the Warhammer not quite as necessary. By the time you play Pike, with this build, by the time you play him, he should have high enough scaling that he's probably going to level or be very close to it. Yeah, I think pretty simple and straightforward, but I think we'll probably go for something like this for Pike. All right, Lilia. Lilia is another one that's like, you can go for the Guardian Orbs. It is a pretty simple and straightforward and solid build. And then you could throw on like a Everfrost. Lost Chapter is nice, but Everfrost is, again, every time you're summoned. So just gives you a little bit of that extra control. So Stalker's Blades, there's kind of like two general main ways to play Lilia. It's going for like Guardian Orbs, so you're getting that scaling, or going for Stalker's Blades, so you're getting that removal. So I think what I'll probably do is get rid of this Guardian Orb, throw on Stalker's Blade, and then that way during the guide, it's like, hey, go for maybe double Guardian Orbs or double Stalker's Blades. Everfrost is pretty nice because, yeah, this is a summon effect, and it's, yeah, it'll be triggered many times. So yeah, I think Lilia, pretty simple and straightforward, just wanting to get all of those summon effects going. All right, Lilia. So next up we have Misfortune. I feel like Misfortune, there's a couple different ways you can go with it. I think going for a little bit more of a selfish route with Corrupted Star Fragment to keep buffing up your Misfortune isn't bad. But I think also going for like a maybe more of a support build with like Blade Rack plus the Troll King's Crown isn't bad either. Going for like a Ludens. Yeah, there's a lot of different approaches. Yeah, Ludens. There's a lot of different ways you can go with Misfortune. Like selfish, support, or like Gunslinger. What rare relic or common relic? I guess a Rage Blade is decent if you're trying to attack with her for more scaling. Lost Chapter is decent, especially if you're going for Ludens, because you just have more spells you want to be playing. Chameleon's Necklace, as always, is solid. Quick Attack or Challenger, also really good. Yeah, there's a lot of different options. Yeah, Grand General's Counterplan is another one that if you want to go for Ludens, you can pair it with. I've definitely done that before. I've actually done double counterplans on Misfortune before. That was interesting, to say the least. So yeah, if you want to go for Ludens, you could go for like those two together. Maybe it goes for those two in like a Lost Chapter, maybe. Yeah, Misfortune will have a couple different paths to go down. Volibear, I think I'll probably just go for Strike Relics, to be honest. Just gain some more hits off, although also, actually, I'll throw on a Ludens, because increasing the damage of his storms is pretty nice, and then you're going to get guaranteed value off of it. Whereas going for, if you have too many Stalker's Blades, like Volibear is already getting a strike off from your second star power. And so going for too many means often there's just not going to be someone for you to hit, so it's going to be wasted value. So yeah, Luden's actually pretty good. As far as relics to go with, Chameleon's necklace is okay to get more copies of him, but it's not quite as needed. I feel like you could just go for like a Z drive. Yeah, you can go for Gatebreaker as well. I normally prefer the Stalkers just to try to get some more sigils going, because sigil generation is pretty good. I think we might go for a Z drive. Because you want to get copies of Volibear, so Chameleons is good for that, but you aren't going to use his champion spell very often, so having too many copies of him can be a little bit rough. So I think going for maybe just a Z drive to make sure you're getting the right powers could be good. Alright, Aurelion Soul. I'm going to go with Crown Guard, and I think also a Deceiver's Crest. Now, this is kind of irrelevant if Aurelion Soul has his 4th star, but I'm kind of thinking most people probably aren't going to have that, because again, we're kind of considering people are leveling up their champions. So Deceiver's Crest is very good for giving you a 0-cost Skies Descend, which is quite fun. Stealing that build from my Asol, nice. Guardian Trinket, add 2 copies of a random champion to your deck. I mean, Guardians can be okay. It is a created card. Yeah, that's the thing, is there's a lot of these rares that often you're just going to be using epics. One thing I actually haven't thought about, but would actually probably be pretty good for Aurelion Soul, is actually, well, I was thinking of the chase guns for 2 created cards, but if you've already played your Aurelion Soul, then you don't really need to play more created cards because you've already played the most expensive champion. So you're having Aurelion Soul create more created cards for you kind of doesn't matter, which is kind of the issue. Comment, yeah, normally you're just going to be ending, so it doesn't really matter or wouldn't even trigger. Yeah, we can throw this one on. And then as far as a common relic, I feel like it kind of doesn't matter for Aurelion Soul, really. Well, actually, no, never mind. It actually is very important. Z drives are very, very good. Yeah, you definitely want to get Z drives on there just to make sure you get the right powers, like counterfeit copies or something like that. Yeah, Chameleons gain more copies of Aurelion Soul is not bad. Getting the random item for Asol, yeah, that is pretty good. Alright, Lux Illuminated. I do really like the Crown Guard Inheritance. I think Crown Guard Inheritance is excellent. And Deceiver's Crest is also very good. Although I feel like you'd probably want to go for the Overwhelm. Probably. Yeah, she gets overwhelmed from the 4th star. Yeah, I think Overwhelm's kind of a bigger deal for you. I like using her with Seraphs plus Grand General's Counterplan. That would be decent for games that go on a bit longer. Normally with your Lux, you're able to end very quickly, though. Also, you said Seraphs. I don't know if you mean Archangel Staff. Yeah, Archangel Staff. Can play both barriers and her own spell. Yeah, I feel like if you want to go for a bit of a longer match, then Archangel Staff plus the Grand Challenge counterplan can be decent, making sure you can play her incandescent every round. But normally I find with Lux, you end so fast that you don't really need to try to go for that scaling. That's kind of what this is. Normally in like your first or second attack, you level, and then you can rally and just immediately attack again. And because of the overwhelm, you're doing so much damage and you have such massive units that you're just able to end. For Lux, I feel like it's also a little bit harder for her common, because Lost Chapter is really good since you're making spells every round, but also having Chameleons to make sure you can play Lux right away, because she's a 3-cost, is also pretty good. I think I would go for Lost Chapter, since with your second star, you're making that Prismatic Barrier every round. Yeah, I think this would be like my go-to, but probably in the video, I will probably recommend or shout out like Archangel Staff and Grand Jones Counterplan if you want to have a little bit of a slower scaling build, because that would definitely work out for that. All right, so for Nora, Corrupted Star Fragment is good. And where's the other one? Transmogulator, also very good. I feel like Condenser could be okay, but I think it would be not as good. Like, it would give you a created ally, which is solid. That then created ally would get buffed up even more. And then if you're doing a version of a unit that is above a 4-cost, they would also trigger a portal. So all of those would be solid, but I feel like it would kind of still be a little bit slower than just going for something like this. Shadeleaf is okay, but with Transmogulator, you're transforming it into a random follower. I'm pretty sure that by doing that, it triggers your star powers so they get buffed up, but then it also counts as another created unit. So it's doing that for you, helping you out. And then with Corrupted Star Fragment, you're able to consume that unit, get all of those extra stats on Nora, making her an absolute monster, and opening up space on your board. With Shadeleaf, grant my supported ally elusive. That is decent, but normally this is more helping when you're trying to keep the units on your board alive. With Nora, quite often you're summoning so many units, you're actually wanting them to kind of die so you can get new and better units as Nora like levels up. I think just going for a pretty simple, straightforward build with like these two is pretty solid when you're leveling up your Nora. Oh, you were saying for Lux? Shadeleaf for Lux, I think, is fine, but the support effect doesn't trigger your powers again. I tested that earlier, putting like all support relics on Lux Illuminated to see if those granted the unit extra spirit, and it didn't. It just did it like in one instance. So going for more support relics for Lux Illuminated didn't actually seem to help very much. But going for the elusive, it can be decent for giving this to potentially your overpowered support unit so that they give another unit elusive. Yeah, there would probably be a place for it. You could, because of the other unit that can give elusive to another one, there could be a way to justify that overwhelm. So yeah, overwhelm or shade leaf, either one of those, some way to get around units. You could use it, yeah. But yeah, for Nora, I think going for these two is pretty good. As far as your card, I think Chameleon's Necklace is very good. Since Nora's a 2-cost, you want to be sure you have her round 1. But her champion spell, the Portal Palooza, is also very good, and you'll actually be playing this fairly often. So having more copies of it is pretty good. I think this is going to be, yeah, the go-to Nora setup. For Yuumi, I mean, you honestly might just want some stats, to be honest, because no, actually, yeah, Gale Force is what you want. Gale Force stats aren't bad, but honestly, going for a lot of commons isn't bad. Most rares don't really do anything for you. So going for multiple rare relics, or just stat relics, or going for like Gale Force, these are all pretty good. I know we're doing rares, but can Echoing Spirit work on Nora? Yes, Echoing Spirit is actually excellent on Nora. Echoing's actually fantastic on Nora, yes. Gale Force is also particularly rare if you want to give an alternative. I mean, the alternative is just going for stats or commons, because most rare relics aren't really good for you. So just going for raw stats or going for more common relics with stats and powers could be solid. Yeah, I think instead of Banshees, let's throw on a Dreams of Yordles. That'll be a bit better. Yeah, for Yuumi, though, especially when you don't consider epic relics, it's pretty simple. I wonder if Luminous Orb is good for Yuumi. I mean, if you want to give a unit a whole bunch of health, but normally you want to be increasing its damage, I think it'd be fine. Get chill, it banged. Thank you for the follow. Let's see. So we were at Yuumi. Let's go for Annie. Annie, pretty simple and straightforward. I do like Ludens, but I think over a Ludens, I would actually go for Grand General's Counterplan. I think Grand General's Counterplan is excellent for Annie. Those disintegrates, especially because from your starting deck, this goes down to a 1-cost and has draw on it, and it also works as a safety net for your Annie, so if she dies, you can just then immediately play another one. Grand General's Counterplan, absolutely excellent. And yeah, I would choose that over a Ludens. But Ludens is also nice too. As far as commons go, since we have Grand General's Counterplan, I don't think Spell Shield is as needed. I think you could actually go for like Spell Shield, possible. Everfrost, not actually bad. Lost Chapter, okay, so you can play some spells immediately round 1. Or just going for Chameleons to make sure you have your Annie. or going for Z Drive to make sure you have some rerolls. I think for your common relic, there are actually a decent amount of options available based on your personal playstyle. Better than any relic, and he loves the blade dance power. I don't know what you mean exactly. But yeah, for Annie, just going for a really simple, straightforward build of Archangels, Counterplan, eventually Illudens potentially. Very simple and straightforward, but quite strong. Oh, Blade's Edge power, not Blade Dance. Yeah, Blade's Edge, Bouncing Blades is the technical power, I think. Name is very good. Alright, Annie, Bard. Corrupted Star Fragment on Bard is, yes, excellent. Very good to have. Also for common relics, let's just immediately throw on Chameleons, because that is so good for you. Could also go for Blade Rack. Blade Rack is pretty nice here as well. But both of these count towards his level up if you increase the total stats of allies in play in hand. So Corrupted Star Fragment is incredible. Berserker's Buckle is also good, but this is one that you could swap out if you want to go for like Blade Rack or something like that. But yeah, the biggest thing is just having Corrupted Star Fragment on Bard. Works out so well. Wouldn't he want Overwhelm? The thing is, with the Corrupted Star Fragment, you're normally going to get Overwhelm, because for one, you are having units get 2 random keywords. So normally units are going to have Overwhelm from that, but also you have multiple elusives that you can consume, so you often don't need Overwhelm from that. But if you did, you also have Overwhelm in your deck as well. So normally all those keywords, you're already getting them, so it doesn't really matter as well. Hey, Spicy Toes, coming from your YouTube. Enjoyed your channel. I have a very specific question. If I fully starred up a champion, but not having the Nova Crystal, but like 100 Essence exactly, is it possible to receive more for that champion from the Gold Vault or higher? I don't think you do. I think you can cap out on your champions with their 6-star constellation, and once you have like all that champion fragments, you're not going to get any more fragments. I think any extra fragments you would get would be just turned into the Stardust as duplicates. Pretty sure how that is going to be working. That being said, I haven't been able to 100% test that because I don't have anyone fully maxed out and notice myself getting any more fragments for them. But I'm pretty sure once you have them completely maxed as far as champion fragments, so even if you haven't spent the stuff in the constellations, if you have, like for me, I have a crazy amount of Lux fragments for Lux Illuminated, but I don't have her constellation completed. So it's like there's still spots because I don't have enough to unlock some of the other things, but I have the fragments. I've been on 260 for a long time. I haven't noticed myself getting any more, but I also haven't noticed any duplicates getting converted into Stardust either. That's how it works. Yeah, I bought the bundles for Voli after already having a lot of frags, and they just converted to Stardust. Okay, yeah, good. By the way, I was watching your last Jack video. I was curious why you used Lost Chapter instead of Archangels, because I wanted more upfront removal, wanted more upfront damage. Also, that was partially from a monthly challenge that I just kind of left, to be honest. Yeah, I wanted that mana refill as soon as I played Jack. But Archangels is also good. Alright, so we were at Bard, but Bard's pretty much done. we can look at Diana. For Diana and the rare relics, for one, having Overwhelm is incredibly important, because with your double attack, you need to be sure you can actually do the damage. Other than having the Overwhelm, Grand General's counter plan isn't bad because you're getting more copies of her champion spell. You can also go for Bounty Hunters. Bounty Hunters is also solid. I think as far as the other relic to go with, I will probably go with Chameleon's Necklace. Again, she's a 2-cost that you want to be playing round 1, but her champion spell is also something you want to be spamming, so getting more copies of this in your deck is very, very good. So I think, yeah, it's another reason why you want to go for Chameleons. Yeah, Troll Kings, having that Overwhelm, very nice. I suppose if you wanted to go like full on, you could go for like double Bounty Hunters and throw on Overwhelm here if you wanted. That's probably something I'll bring up in the guide. Oh, I forgot to hit the save. Sad. Yeah, Diana, you can also go for like Archangel Staff. Or Crown Guard is also solid. Yeah, Diana is one of those that is pretty versatile. But the Troll Kings is really nice to have. I will need to bring up the Bounty Hunters because it is good for Diana, and there's not too many champions that are worth mentioning it on. But there are a lot of ways you can build her. Alright, Diana, Elder Dragon. Elder Dragon I feel like is pretty simple. You just can throw on like strike relics like Gatebreaker or Stalker's Blade, and then also giving your units Overwhelm. That's kind of the one keyword they don't get. So that is pretty good. As far as commons, probably either just want to go for Star Child Staff or just go for Z Drive so you get the best powers. You don't really need to get too many copies of Elder Dragon in your deck because he gets the cost reduction regardless of if he's in hand. And then, yeah, he's such an expensive champion. It's going to be a couple rounds before you can play him. So he's one that uses a lot of epic relics. But since we're not really talking about that, the rare relics for him are pretty simple and straightforward. They are going to be bringing back Starforged Gauntlets. That's something I talked to them or asked them about in the last interview I had. They didn't say they're coming to the Emporium, but they are like developing a system for people to earn the epic relics. Wriggle's Lantern for Elder. Interesting. Going for just a whole bunch of stacking impact. Sure. I feel like that's fine. No, so we're not, in this video that we're working on, we're not bringing up epic relics because this is more people when they're like leveling up their champions. So I'm going into the video expecting that people don't have anyone past 3 stars and they don't have, like, even if they have epic relics, they don't have the slot unlocked on this champion yet. So we're not bringing up epic relics at the moment. But yeah, Elder Dragon is one that you're normally just going for a bunch of epic relics on him. So for common relics, it's pretty simple what you want to do. Elise, Gale Force is great. Dreams is still fantastic. And I think the Evolve Relic would be worth using. I keep going past it. Yeah, I must. Yeah, Voidborn should be near the bottom. There we go. So this is really nice to be able to give our Spiderlings the Evolve, because normally they can then trigger the 2/2 fairly easily. Spirit and Impact, buffing up really nice. And then Scout, giving them really powerful keyword, and then also helping buff them up. And then we can potentially get other keywords from this to also give our units. So this would be kind of the go-to build. Yeah, Corrupted Star Fragment, if you don't have Gale Force, Corrupted Star Fragment would be the other, like, really good thing to throw on. It would pair a little bit better with Voidborn as well, because this is kind of better the longer she's on the board. But Gale Force is generally worth using if you have it. For leveling 230, I love Bounty Hunter's Renown for almost everyone, especially the cheap champions like Neela. The Stat Bomb makes leveling to 30 easier. Plus, you learn to stop buying garbage and polluting your deck by hoarding gold. I go Evolve and Quick Attack on Elise. Dreams of Yordles is really nice as a common relic, because every time you attack, if you have your Elise on the board, this essentially acts like a boost, because it gives your Spiderlings another stack of both of these. So with the Gale Force, you get 2 attacks off, so then you're giving everyone 2/2 as far as Spirit and Impact. So that's really nice, which, while having Quick Attack is solid, I think Dreams of Yordles still is able to edge it out. Honestly, I should probably try a build where I go for, like, triple Dreams of Yordles and see what happens. But yeah, I think if you have it, Dreams of Yordles is very good for Elise. It won't stack. Yeah, I kind of feel like that as well. It won't stack even with 2 Elise on the board. Sad. Yeah, I figured that was gonna be the case. It normally doesn't bring him over. Yeah, Quick Attack is nice. Normally with Quick Attack, that's something I try to pick up throughout the run through, like, champion nodes. Getting that on Elise to then give to the Spiderlings is very solid. But as far as a common relic, I really like Dreams of Yordles. I think it gives you such a good impact. That was actually not intentional. Also, there's an interesting bug with Dreams of Yordles. If you have Gale Force and Dreams, after the first Elise shuffles back into the decks, the next Elise you play has 2 stacks of Spirit and Impact. Interesting. I'd prefer Overwhelm. That is, yeah, normally with this build, you don't have the Voidborn Carapace, and you throw on a Beast Within or a Spirit of the Buru to give you that Overwhelm. All right, let's look at Evelyn, and Evelyn's going to be very simple and straightforward. We're just going to throw on, I think, Crown Guard. Having the level up relics, very, very good. And you could swap out one of these for the Deceiver's Crest, also excellent, because that gives you a removal spell when you level up Evelyn. And as far as the relics, you definitely want to go with Chameleon's Necklace, because Evelyn is your main win condition. You have to try as hard as possible to make sure you're drawing your Evelyn, which is why having the 2 extra copies is so important. If you're already running Gale Force and Dreams, the extra stats go to waste if you don't push through blockers. Yeah, potentially you could maybe swap out the Evolve for the Overwhelm Relic. Overwhelm is the easiest keyword to get, though. Yeah. All right, let's go to Garen. And yeah, generally with Garen, I just like having the strike relics. Like, I'll switch one out for a Gatebreaker just to like show that as one of the options. But going for double strike relics so that he just immediately levels and then is going to be rallying every single round is normally what I really like with him. Going for Lost Chapter so that you can immediately play your strike spell you're generating every round is also really good. Garen, it's just strikes. Yeah, that's normally what I always go for rare relics for Garen. Yeah, I think Lost Chapter to play your single combat is probably pretty good. Berserker's Buckle is a solid relic for Garen. But I think I still generally prefer the double strikes to immediately level. But yeah, Berserker's Buckle will be one that'll be good to shout out. Same with like Troll King's Crown. So if you don't like the strike playstyle, there are other solid options. All right, for Gnar, I think chase guns are excellent. Right, it's the Treadway chase guns, right? Goodness, or is it just Dreadway chase guns? Nope, it's just Dreadway. Oh, we really need a filter. I also do hate that, like, yeah, half of the things are the whatever, because then it also screws up when you're trying to do it by alphabetical. Anyways, Dreadway chase guns are excellent. I do like also having the Scourge's stash to try to get him on the board earlier. Bounty Hunter's Renown is solid. Yeah, you have to do something to help Gnar, because a 4-cost 3/3 just sucks. So either going for Bounty Hunters, so Gnar is bigger, or going for Scourge's Stash, so that you can get him on the board cheaper. One of those is very good to do. But yeah, Dreadway is excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of epic relics that really help Gnar, but we can't really go for that. Yeah, his stat line is pretty rough. And it's because he can transform to be a 5/5. But yeah, it's not great. I think for the common relics, Lost Chapter is pretty good because you do have a lot of spells. So that's not bad. I mean, Spirit and Impact actually isn't terrible. Having slightly higher stats and impact. And Banshee's Veil is okay. And Duelist Blade. Yeah, it's decent. You do have the way to get vulnerable. So you can kind of work around it. But yeah, Grand Duelist Blade for the Quick Attack Challenger is also solid as well. Yeah, there'll be a decent amount to talk about with Gnar. A couple different ways you can go with him. I wonder what Gnar 4-star, Epic Pourer Power, or Explosive Entrance. I mean, they normally don't do epic powers for 4 stars. I mean, they have it a couple times, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like, they gave one to Misfortune. So, maybe. Alright, so we have Alawi, which is pretty simple. The main thing is Crown Guard Inheritance. And then from there, you can just go for, like, Overwhelm, or you could go for, like, Shade Leaf. Shade Leaf, I think since we've shouted out Overwhelm so much, we'll put Shade Leaf here. Because, yeah, you attack with Alawi, you level up in your first attack with her, you rally, and then you end the game. She already has Overwhelm, so you don't have to worry about her. But giving something for your Tentacle, so Shade Leaf is pretty good. Welcome, Yoshi. Glad you can make it. So we'll go with that for the rares. For the common, Spell Shield's not bad, just to make sure she doesn't get like frostbitten or anything. Like, you could go for also a quick attack Storm Razor, so that you don't take too much damage and die in your first attack, and normally you can have a high enough power that doesn't really matter. Yeah, the common relic isn't quite as important. There's a couple different things you can do. Yes, the Tentacle is a stat stick for Alawi, but you still want it to hit the Nexus if you can. Like, that's just giving you a lot of extra damage and just helps make sure you're going to be ending in your first attack with her. Like, if you want to not bother with Shade Leaf, you can, but I like going for the extra damage. But it is a stat stick for Alawi. I wonder, is Misfortune the only person that has an epic 4-star? I kind of feel like it. Like, Misfortune, her 4-star has Yip's Genius, the epic power. But I think she might be the only one. Like, most people... I mean, some even have common powers. Like, Swain has a common power. It seems like she does. Yeah, everyone else that I'm thinking through, like, she has Sorcery, he has Raiding Party, Overwhelm, Gearheads, Stun, Frostbite. Is his the same as Veins? Arm to the Teeth, so these both have Arm to the Teeth, Sorcery, Overwhelm, Spellslinger, Yordle person, Greenglade, Shade Leaf, Fury, the Explosive Finale, Landmark 1, Discard 1, Fury again, Lurk 1, Lilia has Overwhelm again, Volibear has the useless Vulnerable 1, Lux has Overwhelm again, Nora has the elusive 2-cost. Yumi has the barrier 1. Yeah, Misfortune's the only person that has an epic. Yordle person? Yeah, I forget. The Greenglade Shadeleaf, or Greenglade Lookout, is I think what it's actually called. I'd say only Nasus have a chance for Epic Relic they add in. For a really hopeless champion. I mean, it'd be nice. Anyways, we have Jack up next. For Jack, Stalker's Blade is very good. We're going to keep the Lost Chapter, and I think for the other relic, just to show another good option, I think we'll do the Berserker's Buckle, because works really well. Jack takes a bunch of damage. You have your prize fights. I think this will be probably our setup for him. So yeah, I think for Jack, this will be pretty simple go-to. Archangels, yeah, Archangels is one that I'll also need to shout out because yeah, it is pretty good refilling your mana every round. That is pretty solid. Actually, I think for Jack, I'll put that in over the Lost Chapter, just so that I'm more likely to remember. I know I'm not going to forget Lost Chapter, or that would be much less likely. All right, so for Janna, I think still going for Scourge's Stash is solid. Going for Luden's, I think, is okay. I think getting more copies of your champion is important, so you can play Janna as soon as possible. She's your main engine for getting a whole bunch of cost-reduced cards, because each round the first 3 cards you draw reduce the cost by 1, and then for Janna it's just all the cards you draw. So she's really important. You want to get her on the board. Making her get on the board faster and be cost reduced with Scourge Stash is good. Making sure you have her with Chameleon's Necklace. Her champion spell is solid. I feel like you could swap this out if you wanted the Banshee's Veil with a little bit of protection. Chemtech, if you get to 6 mana. Because the double also counts as a cost reduced card. Huh. I wasn't aware of that. That's interesting. But yeah, I think we can throw on Duplicator. Yeah, double Scourge's Stash wouldn't be bad if you wanted to go all in on that. That would be a good option as well. I feel like there's actually potentially some value in Deceiver's Crest. Yeah, Jack is a champion that is very good, but he has some major flaws. But once they give him his constellation, like he has great potential. He does have some big things holding him back, but I think with his constellation, he's going to be incredible. We haven't gotten to Lux 1.0 yet. Yeah, I think this is okay for Janna. All right, let's talk about Jax. For Jax, I do like Corrupted Star Fragment on him, and this is good for a couple reasons. For one, it's just a very good power. Jax, you're attacking all the time. Scaling him up is solid, but it also synergizes with your 2-star of when an equipped ally dies, draw 1. So actually by killing your own units, as long as they are equipped, you can also get some extra draw out of them. This can also give you some really powerful keywords, such as like Scout. So that's pretty good. Crown Guard is okay. Crown Guard can often just have you end the game, so that's another one that's pretty good. Scout is, depending on what you're doing, very solid. Berserker's Buckle or Bounty Hunters can be good. Yeah, Bounty Hunters can be solid. Probably throw that on there. Yeah, I think for our common, we'll probably throw on the Challenger, so we can have that quick attack Challenger combo, making sure Jax is getting the best trades. There are some... Jax is another one that was pretty versatile. So if you wanted to go for like Grand General's counterplan to just make a copy of his champion spell every round and go for like Archangel Staff, you can also do that. You can play Jax in a lot of different ways, but I think this is pretty solid. Yeah, he can end very fast. All right, Jhin. For Jhin, we'll just go for, like, we're trying to shout out combos when we can, and for Jhin, it's kind of the best time to do that. So Gatebreaker and Riptide Battery, kind of the best thing you can do. I'd say if you don't have met 3 stars, then Lost Chapter is going to be a little bit better because you're going to have more of those spells to play. Everfrost, not bad though. Yeah, Everfrost is also solid, stunning an enemy, but they might potentially die from the Riptide. Yeah, if you don't have met 3 stars, going for Archangel Staff or the Lost Chapter is pretty good. This build also works on Lysandra. I think so. It should. Rerolls could be good. Chameleon's Necklace is always solid. Everfrost wouldn't be bad. I think we'll do this for the moment. Suggesting just bounty hunters, yeah, that wouldn't be the best, but for a lot of these champions, I'm going to be suggesting multiple things. And when I can, I like to suggest some different relics that also work out pretty well. And we normally don't recommend bounty hunters a lot, but yeah, for a lot of these, there's going to be like one build that I'm showcasing, but then I'm also going to talk about other ones as well. So like for Jax, I'm going to talk about other ways to build him. I'm not going to be suggesting that bounty hunters is the only way to go. But when it is actually useful, I like trying to shout it out. Because it does give you a pretty different way to play. For Kayn, I mean, I generally like just double strike relics so he can again immediately level. So getting to Rost as soon as possible to get that sustain is generally worth it. So one thing I've done for him is double stalkers plus going for, I would normally say Soul Spear, but you might actually just want to go for Dreams of Yordles because it's still going to give you that 1/1. Because the main reason I was going for Soul Spear is just getting the +1 damage so that your strikes would hit a little bit harder, so you're more likely to get a kill, or 2 kills hopefully. But Dreams giving you that 1/1 and then also getting the bonus of impact is probably going to be a little bit better than the 1-0 and Fearsome, especially because you're not going to rely on Fearsome. You have Challenger, you're always challenging a unit, you're not using Fearsome to get around anyone. So I think Dreams will probably be better. Yeah, double Stalker's Blade, fantastic. So you play Kayn, gets 2 strikes off, immediately levels, and yeah, just turns into the only option. Regen, you normally don't need it because with your Constellation, with your powers, you kill an ally and then you fully heal. So you don't normally need regen at all because you just are healing all the way up. Yeah, we have Challenger and Overwhelm. We don't need Fearsome. So Dreams of Yordles should just be better in pretty much every way. Kindred. Potentially just going to leave this because this is kind of different ways you can play. Stalker's Blade. Nice to try to get a kill right away to proc one of your marks. Corrupted Star Fragment, also decent. You get a guaranteed kill in one of your units. Lets you mark an enemy, also helps you with scaling. That can be pretty good. But you can also go for the Guardian Angel build where you intentionally kill your own kindred to trigger like more Stalker's Blades. Or then you could also pair it with like Everfrost with the Guardian Angel. So yeah, these are kind of like the different rare relics that you want to go with. So I think we'll probably leave these here. But as far as some other ones, Lost Chapter, decent because you have spells you're generating you want to play. Going for the Challenger, also decent to be able to go for quick attack Challenger combo. And then kind of the other basics like chameleons is fine. Yeah, being able to print your kindred with Guardian Angel is pretty great. Yeah, I think we'll probably just leave that there, because a lot of these are just put in place so that I can remember when I'm going through the video of which ones I all need to be talking about. With LeBlanc, I think we'll have a Stalkers, and then we'll also throw on a Guardian Orb. Just kind of the two main ways to play LeBlanc. Going for those strikes and removal, or going for that scaling with Guardian Orb. As far as a common relic, I feel like you normally just want to go for chameleons just to be sure you draw your LeBlanc, because the only time you really have difficulties when you don't draw her. Although Everfrost is pretty good, so I think we'll throw that on first. Yeah, I think we'll stick with that, because this is pretty good. Although LeBlanc is very versatile, she's another one you can play her a ton of different ways, but normally just going for Stalkers or Guardian Orb is kind of the best. Yeah, if you want to go for like a Challenger with a quick attack, it's never a bad combination. Alright, Lee Sin. Lee Sin is rough. I think I'll probably go for like Duplicator and Overwhelm. Overwhelm, incredibly good for Lee Sin, because when he levels up, he recalls the unit with his kick into the enemy nexus. But if you don't have Overwhelm, that means his attack fizzles. But if you have Overwhelm, he's hitting the nexus for his power with this, but then he's also striking it again. So essentially, you kind of get like double attack if you have Overwhelm. Overwhelm, really good to have. Chemtech Duplicator, especially since he's a 5 cost. Getting all your spells to go off twice really helps you out. But really with Lee Sin, there's so many things you're trying to fix with his relics. Like potentially going for Hymn of Valor to have him get buffed up twice with the Chemtech Duplicator. Or going for like Archangel Staff to try to give you some mana to play. True. We could put the Overwhelm as the Troll Crusher. We could put that in the common slot. That is true, because it is most important just to have it on him. So putting that there is fine. So we could go for like a Grand General's counter plan, potentially, or like Archangel Staff. I think having the spells to play, though, especially the Resonance Strike going off twice, probably better than having the mana, since this is going to be activated when we have 6 mana anyway, so that shouldn't really be the problem. And if he's not leveled, having these really cheap spells will really help. I think for, yeah, 2 rares and a common, this is probably close to the kind of the best you can do. Although chase guns are also solid in order to try to give some more level up procs. Alright, so Leona. Let's get rid of all of these. Chemtech Duplicator is decent, because you're playing a lot of these Morning Lights. Having them go off multiple times is very good. It gives you a lot of control, because you could target one of these. Like, Leona's leveled, you're on the board, and you have your bird. You target this at the bird, it goes off twice, you end up getting 4 stuns for playing 1 spell. So Chemtech is pretty good in that regard. Archangel Staff, It is solid, but normally, especially since she's such a high cost champion, it's not activated until much later, and by that point you're kind of fine with just spending your mana on it anyways. Toast, what do you get for the 16th Lysandra clear? You get a golden star vessel. Yeah, you get a gold star vessel. I think mine was for Bandle City. Tempest Blade, you normally don't really need it with Leona. You have enough control from your spells to already stun the entire enemy board, so it's not as needed. Now you can go for like a Crown Guard Inheritance to try to attack as soon as Leona is leveled, which isn't bad, because with Leona, when she levels, actually let's go and look at her constellation. When you level up an allied champion, create a Morning Light in hand. It costs 0. So with this sort of build, you can try to have Leona on the board, level her on turn 6, which isn't that difficult. You have your Chemtech, you rally, you're able to play just one of those Morning Lights you have for free, and stun the entire running board, buff up your board like crazy, and just do a bunch of damage. So Crown Guard is one you can possibly use. Archangel Staff is decent. Grand General's Counterplan, if you don't think you're going to be able to end in the first little while, being able to make a Morning Light every round is good. 100%. I need a Targon champ, and the only ones I have left is Leona and Yuumi. I mean, all Targon is pretty good. Troll King's Crown, the Overwhelm can be helpful, but normally you can control the enemy board enough you don't really have to worry about blockers. I would probably go for Leona unless your Yuumi has, I guess, partway through her constellation. If Yuumi is working on a constellation, then she could be stronger. As far as common relics to go with, going for extra rerolls wouldn't be bad. Going for Overwhelm, since she has Challenger, so she can normally be the person grabbing other ones, is also not terrible. More copies of Leona because her champion spell is so good. Also solid. Could always go for Quick Attack Challenger. If you have 4-star Yuumi, then that's possible. The one issue with Yuumi is Yuumi can often be fairly narrow, which is very easy for Lysandra to just entomb all your units. And your 4-star, your barrier, can't necessarily protect you from that. So you'd have to be kind of careful with your Yuumi. I think Yuumi can put out a lot of damage, and she can put out a lot of damage faster. So you might be able to try to end before things get too out of hand, but Lysandra does have a ton of health. I feel like I would lean towards Leona. This is by the order in game. Yeah, just whatever the messed up order that they have. I don't want to try to keep track of going through alphabetically, especially since we're hopping between a lot of different people. So I think for Leona, Everfrost. I actually don't know if Everfrost overrides with her other stun. I think I'd probably just want to go for Lost Chapter. But yeah, it's going to be a decent amount to talk about with Leona. Oh, these Relic videos always take... it takes so long. Alright, Lux, this is one that people were asking about. This is kind of a lot of the go-to relics to, well, go-to. So Archangel Staff, really good. Chemtech Duplicator, fantastic. Arcane Comet, pretty good. You can also try to go for some of the cost reduction, like Scourge's Stash. Being able to try to get Lux on the board a little bit earlier can be solid, especially if you're not going for Chemtech Duplicator. But Lux is also one that you can often end the game without ever playing Lux. And so just going for like the Cardmaster's Gambit, when you win a counter without taking any Nexus damage, earn 1 reroll, that can actually be pretty solid. And then as far as common relics, you can really just go for Z-Drive Prototype, get a bunch of extra rerolls. If you're taking damage, going for Star Child Staff. Lux can be very not champ reliant. Any suggested relic for Lux beating Lysandra? You'd probably want to go for a build like without the Chemtech Duplicator. You'd maybe want to try to throw on like a Scourge's Stash, try to get Lux on the board early, and then maybe start proccing your Arcane Comets to obliterate Lysandra and her units. That would potentially be pretty good. Would you get 801 Greater Cosmic Essence? Or... yeah, a lot of these were bundles. Yeah, a lot of them, they give you these in a lot of different bundles. Most of these Cosmic Blessings I've gotten from the monthly adventures. But yeah, potentially trying to get Lux on the board earlier and using your Arcane Comet to blast. With Lux being 5 mana, you're going to have kind of a hard time getting her on the board normally against Lysandra. Normally that by that point the game is already kind of decided. So going for a cost reduction build for her wouldn't be bad. Yeah, a lot of these types of relics, or just going for a passive build, work out pretty well for Lux. Alright, Master Yi. Crown Guard actually can be solid, because normally when he's buffed up, you attack, he already has a lot of temporary stats, then he can immediately attack again and do some really good damage. Chemtech Duplicator, normally you're ending games before Chemtech Duplicator, so I don't think that's really needed. Grand General's Counterplan also... like, getting a copy of him, normally that's not as needed because this is Hero's Horn. So normally you're already able to have one of these in hand. It'd be kind of like a backup. Wouldn't be terrible. Hymn of Valor could be fun. It's been a while since I've played copies. Grand General's Counterplan is... and Staff is good before you get Horn on his spell. I think you get Horn on his spell at 15, right? Okay, 18 you get Hero's Horn. But for this build, it is right here. You equip a rare relic to your second relic slot. So you can't have 2 rare relics before getting Hero's Horn. So you don't, like, Grand General's Counterplan plus Staff, that only activates after you already have Hero's Horn going. So you can't actually have both of those before you get Hero's Horn. So yeah, for this build, we know that they have Hero's Horn on his spell, because otherwise they're not going to have 2 rare relic slots unlocked. I do feel like there's probably like 2 different ways to go with Master Yi that most people would take. You go for kind of the consistent and slower pace, where it's like, all right, we're getting this stuff every single round. We'll be able to use this to scale up, control the board, and end the game. I think for him, you can go kind of make a choice between Lost Chapter or extra copies of him. So yeah, kind of depending on what you want. So I think you could go for something like this, which is slower, has more of a way to, well, it's more consistent. But you could also go for a build where you go for like Crown Guard and you try to end very quickly. Oh, you could. Yeah, you could also go, there's so many different ways to do this. So this is like as much upfront damage as possible. But probably while you're leveling, probably want to take things easy. I think we'll start off with this, and we'll potentially talk about some other builds while we're going through. Because yeah, Master Yi is kind of one that he has some very powerful and kind of like set epic relic builds. I don't think it's quite as set with rare relics. Mordekaiser though, 100% you want Corrupted Star Fragment, definitely. You probably also want to go for like the Wicked Harvest, because yeah, any of your own units that you kill, you're gonna immediately revive. You don't necessarily want to get more copies of your champion, because the one Mordekaiser is a 7 cost, so it's gonna take you a while to play him. And then if you do play him, his champion spell is also very expensive. So you could just want to go for like rerolls. Starchild Staff, actually pretty good. Although you do have some amount of sustain. Could go for quick attack, but normally with Corrupted Star Fragment, this doesn't really matter. Could go for Ravenous Hydra for more damage. Yeah, the heal would probably be pretty good on Mordekaiser, since you're normally going to be taking damage, and normally by the time you get your sustain going, the game is over. But yeah, these two are excellent. Alright, so we have Nami. While you're leveling, Chemtech Duplicator is very good until it's not. So while you have games hitting this point, then yes, very good for helping you clear and end. Later on, as you're getting higher and higher level, you're going to notice you start ending games before you ever get this going off. And so then you need to replace it. Grand General's counter plan, just making sure you can get her champion spell and all 3 copies of it every single round is excellent. And I think because of that, you want to go for Chameleon's Necklace to make sure you get your Nami and make sure you get more copies of her champion spell. I love million Nami spells. Yeah. Alright, so Nami, nice and simple, not too much to discuss. For Nasus, generally I would say you just want to go for some strike relics. I think we'll throw on Gatebreaker, even though I would normally recommend Stalker's Blade, but it's Nasus's relic, so let's lead with that, although we'll definitely talk about Stalker's Blade. I think Blade Rack is decent, so that once your Nasus is on the board, your units get the best trades possible and be sure they can actually close out those kills. And then with Nasus, I'm just going to expect that you're taking damage, so having the extra heal is going to be pretty good. Double hammer and Stalker's Blade. We're not doing full rare relic builds. Sometimes if I have 3 rare relics, that's because it's 3 rare relics I want to talk about. It's not, this is a complete build. For this, we're only talking about double rare relics and then double rare relics plus a common relic. Because it's trying to give you all of the different suggestions as you're leveling up your champion. Because the video we did before was what to do for your first common, your first rare, and then your first rare and common together. So suggesting full 3 relic builds doesn't actually work. As the common item, Overwhelm should be nice too. No. Overwhelm is decent, yeah. It's solid. Often with your Nasus and your Fearsome, you can normally get by without it, because you are reducing down their power from this, you're reducing down their power from your star powers, and then you have a couple different spells, like the Exhaust and your Quicksand, that can also reduce down their power. So you have ways that you can still get through and attack without Overwhelm. But Overwhelm is decent, but especially while you're net leveling, you're probably going to need the consistent heal. But yeah, it's not bad. Corrupted Star Fragment, yes, can also be pretty good. Reroll is also a solid, yeah. The extra rerolls are very good common slot. Alright, Nidalee will be a little bit more simple. Actually, that's pretty much fine, yeah. So for Nidalee, you could do Corrupted Star Fragment, that's okay. But Transmogulator and Crown Guard together, very solid. Lost Chapter, pretty much always what you want to use for Nidalee. So this is actually already a solid build. Yeah, there's some other options, but that's pretty good. Neela. I have actually really been enjoying Loose Cannon's payload. I do think it is quite good. It works out very well for Neela. So hats off to, I forget who, but there was one person that really loved Neela that is very set on it, and I agree. Does work out quite well. Corrupted Star Fragment, also good for both buffing up your Neela and clearing out your board, because with duplicating your spells or your cards, it's, yeah, not the greatest. The Spade is fine, but for one, this has to have Neela already on the board before it will activate. So you drop Neela, you don't get a fleeting card, and then it goes off the next round, you start getting 1. It's okay. The Loose Cannon's payload, though, giving you like 5 often fleeting cards for you to choose from, is pretty good. You can, if the game goes on long enough, potentially run out of fleeting cards to play, but you already have other ways to generate fleeting cards. After playing with the Loose Cannon's payload a couple different times, I do feel like it's an improvement over the Gravedigger Spade. Now, if you don't have this, you don't want to use it, yes, Gravedigger Spade is a alternative, but I think Loose Cannon's payload actually works out pretty well for you. And then, yeah, Corrupted Star Fragment, I do like it quite a lot for Neela. And Lost Chapter would be decent, so you can immediately play at least a Pow Pow to try to give you a lot of pressure and really control the early game and then just start dominating. Yeah, Spade, this is kind of like the one place it's actually usable, but sadly, I find Loose Cannon's payload is just better. If they make this a power, so this is just always active, then I think it could be a decent alternative, because then even if you don't draw Neela, this is still helping you. But the fact that this also is requiring Neela to be on the board just makes it a bit worse. Could Grand General's counterplan be good because of fleeting? I would say it's fine. Like, you're going to be getting your Formless Blade, which then can, if you don't use it, get discarded, so you get another fleeting card next round. I think it's fine. If you were trying to like go for a Icon of Valhyr build, where your elemental spells and skills deal extra damage, then it could be a little bit better, because it'd be doing a ton of damage. But I don't think it's good enough that it's worth recommending for like your go-to build. But yeah, Corrupted Star Fragment, Loose Cannon, both pretty good. All right, Ornn. So he's very good with a lot of these other ones. For him, though, he also very much likes Corrupted Star Fragment. This essentially doubles his stats, because when he levels, he summons the Ram with his stats, and the Ram has Overwhelm. So essentially, you give your Ornn Overwhelm, double his stats, and that just happens every single time you attack. Very fun. As far as the other rare relic to pair that with, if you want to go like full aggro, you can go for like Gale Force, but that's not really something I'm going to recommend for like most people to do. Crown Guard wouldn't actually be terrible. Often you can have Ornn level when you drop him, so you can drop him, immediately level, and potentially end the game. That's not bad. Or if you play Ornn, you attack, strike, level, and then you can attack again. So yeah, Crown Guard isn't bad. You can go for a strike relic with him, so he can try to strike when you play him to level him up, because normally he equips first and then strikes, but normally with your other units you can already have that happen. Does he need Overwhelm on followers? Normally no. Especially since by the time he's on the board, he is going to be ending the game for you, and your other Overwhelm for rare relics needs him to already be on the board. So yeah, I think Corrupted and Crown Guard would actually be a pretty good combination. And I think you probably want to go for the heal, just because with Ornn, your game's going to be going longer. You're probably going to need the heal. Although you could always go for like re-rolls. All right, set. He is pretty simple. It's this. This is what you want to use. I would say probably want to go for Chemtech plus Grand General's Counterplan first, because this going off twice gives you coins. Coins are doubled with your Chemtech Duplicator. So I'd say it's better than having Archangel Staff. Making sure you have things to play is better than just having mana. So yeah, this is pretty much what you want to do for your rare relics. As far as commons, you could go for Lost Chapter, but I would still probably just go for Chameleon's Necklace, making sure you have set, and then his champion spell is fantastic. So pretty simple and straightforward. There's some champions where there's a lot of different things you can do, and then there's other ones like this where it's like, okay, this is just the go-to build. All right, we're almost through it. Thank you all for sticking with me. So Tom Kench, let's see. I think probably the go-to is just going to recommend like Troll Kings and the Buckle. Yep, the Berserker's Buckle. When I survive damage, grant me 2/2. Really nice. And then making sure all your units with their scaling have that Overwhelm is pretty solid. With Tom Kench, Lost Chapter is going to be pretty good, because when I'm summoned, create that Acquired Taste, that 2-cost spell. So being able to immediately play that, capture a unit, give you some more scaling, is pretty good. Although I will say for... Don't ban me, please. Thank you for the subscribe. I appreciate the support. 4 common relics, while Lost Chapter is nice, going for the regen with Warmogs, or going for the tough with Armadillo Shell is also very solid. So there are there's some competition for Lost Chapter. We all like playing 3 Berserker's Buckles. Yes, that is a good time. Yeah, there's a couple different things you can go with for the common relic based on your playstyle. Alright, Teemo, and I mean, honestly, just this build actually worked out pretty well. I think I actually even put this build on YouTube yet. It's sitting there, it's waiting. It's getting ready. So just having stat relics on Teemo actually is pretty good. Corrupted Star Fragment is a little tough. It's good to be able to buff Teemo up, but normally you need the extra blockers, so killing your own units can actually suck. Oh, the build of triple Warhammers, that is going on YouTube. Does Impact count as Nexus Strike? No. Yeah, I'm thinking of putting a Gatebreaker here. Just so you have enough damage, you can get that Nexus Strike off immediately, plant some Puff Caps, and then you still have some decent stats. And Spell Shield is solid. Can also go for extra copies, but yeah, I think this will be pretty good. Sadly, Teemo's been just destroyed by the Relic nerfs. He used to be so good. Grand General's counter plan, I feel like that's a little bit too slow for Teemo, to be honest. So Poro King will be a little bit sad because he's so good with his other build. Corrupted Star Fragment is pretty good to open up space on your board. Buff up your Poro King to be very strong. Draw 2 different Poros. Yeah, it's sad some of these champions because you know that epic relic builds are incredible, but for rare relics, they're not the greatest. Hey Spicy, do you have any particular recommendation on this 5.5? I don't have any 4 stars yet, not many epic relics either. I do actually. We'll come back to Poro King. I actually have a 3-star champion where it's still gonna suck, but it is going to be better. So Annie is excellent, especially if you are able to have Echoing Spirit. If you don't have Echoing Spirit, still kind of works, but Echoing Spirit definitely helps you out. So with Annie, you can play her round 1, and her card is Disintegrate. Now, it says 2 cost, but because of your starting deck, it goes down to a 1 cost and has draw 1 on it. Now, if you have Echoing Spirit, this will then be a 0 cost spell, and you'll normally, since you have so many copies of Annie, draw 2 in your opening hand. So what you can do for the 5.5 is you drop Annie, you're going to have the attack token because it's the Weekly Nightmare. You hit their unit with your Disintegrate, you then attack. Since they are vulnerable, you make sure they block you, and then Annie's spell or skill that goes off when she attacks will hit this unit, proc damage, because Disintegrate, it'll instantly kill it. So with Annie, you can consistently turn 1, kill their Hugify unit, and just have that off the board and gone. Now, it's still going to suck as far as an adventure, because you're playing a 3-star champion into a 5.5, so that they're going to have more mana than you, a lot of Nexus health. You're still going to have a hard time. You don't really have any sustain, so the Powder Monkeys will wear you down. So it's still difficult, but it's a 3-star that has more of a chance because you're getting rid of the main issue, the Hugify. That's gone round 1 consistently. So that's one thing you can do. Was testing it out last night. And yes, I was consistently able to get rid of that big unit. Now, Annie's still going to struggle, but any 3-star champion is going to struggle in here. Yeah, it's going to be tough. But that's one that you can try, and especially you do have Echoing Spirit and Annie 3-star. Okay, great. Then, yeah, it'll be tough, but especially if you have Echoing Spirit, you're going to have more of a chance. Try in your adventure to get some form of sustain. Annie has the great ability to control and stall out, but those monkeys are just going to be whittling you down. So trying to get some form of sustain will definitely help you. I too am a Arctic fan. I have a bunch of Arctic tumblers and 12-ounce coffee brews. Yeah, I just... any of these sorts, like... this one is a Arctic, but any of these sorts of cups or tumblers or whatnot are fantastic. Alright, let's get back to Poro King. I think, yeah, the one that you mentioned, the Evolve one, isn't bad. Is probably pretty good here. Also going for cost reduction to try to get him on the board earlier. I think for some rare relics, since they can only choose 2, but some of these will probably be pretty good for you. For the common relic, Z-Drive prototype would actually be pretty good to get the right powers. Starchild staff, not bad. Chameleon's necklace is okay, although you don't really care about his champion spell normally as much. Lost chapter to immediately play a Porosnax wouldn't be bad. You've never played Poro King? Yeah, so Poro King is one that is very good once you level him up and get epics. Is this going to be a relic guide for every separate champion? Yes. So what this is we're listing every single champion, and we're listing the relic combinations you're going to have with double rare relics and then double rare plus common relics. We already did a video talking about like your first common relic, your first rare relic, and then your first rare and common combo. We're just trying to have different videos to help you for the entire time you're playing your champions. What are some relic suggestions? Now, Poro King is one of those champions where you can completely ignore the champion and not worry about playing him. That is definitely possible. And especially once you get epic relics, that's kind of the better way to play. But while you have rare relics, you kind of need to focus on him a little bit more, because you just don't have the same amount of crazy scaling. At least he doesn't activate quite as fast. But if you want to go for just a full common relic build of like a bunch of Starchild staff and Z-Drive prototypes, that is totally valid, and just not even play Poro King. That definitely can work. But yeah, I think some decent ones to go with if you're wanting to play actually Poro King himself. Alright, a few left. Thresh is... yeah, I'll probably use both of these. And potentially also use Wicked Harvest, I think. Again, they can only use 2 of these, but kind of mix and matching whatever you like. Although Thresh is another one where Voidborn Carapace is actually decent. This is kind of doing the same thing your star powers are doing, but this way, if someone gets it that's not Thresh, he also gets the keywords as well. And this also gives you the keywords of the enemy. So I think this is another one to potentially throw on. Yeah, the reason this is so good is killing your own units, and then with Thresh, you're able to kill a lot with the Succubus brand. Yeah, I think if you're going for Succubus brand, you do want to go for the Wicked Harvest, because then you're killing more units. But these husks, they count as units dying. And so you kill a bunch of units, you summon a bunch of husks, you then play a unit that kills all the husks, and then you level up your Thresh. So a lot of these blue, purplish relic builds are very good for him. As far as common relics, I would say you could go for the Stormrazor for the quick attack challenger combo. That's something you could do. Starchild Staff or Z-Drive Prototype I think would also be pretty solid. Yeah, these guides take a long time to make, and they're also very long videos since you're going through absolutely everyone, and we almost have 60 champions, so just spending like a minute per champion, and it's going to be an hour long. All right, Varus, we'll just do his kind of like his basic but consistent and boring champion build. So him, and then Lost Chapter. For the other one, probably don't want to wait for like Chemtech. Probably want to be able to play it right away. Maybe Crown Guard so that you can try to have him leveled, and so he can immediately attack with the Hymn of Valor. Because with Varus, his spells get duplicated, so your Hymn of Valor, you're casting that on Varus, and it's going off multiple times. So he's getting absolutely massive. And then this is actually a 3 cost, so you can immediately play it with the Lost Chapter. So it's a very boring Varus build, but you just drop him, buff him up an insane amount with Hymn of Valor, and then end. Is this the best in slot without epics? Pretty much, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything better than Crown Guard. But nothing's really coming up at the moment. Yeah, I think Crown Guard is probably best just so you can try to end immediately. But at least that is nice and simple. Vhagar. For him, I really like Duplicator, and I actually really like the cost reduction of Scourge of Stash, trying to get him on the board earlier. It can be hard to trigger your Plunder, though, so Ludens is also a good alternative. As far as the common relic, if you don't have your Vhagar at 3 stars, probably want to go for Lost Chapter, because you don't have 0-cost Darkness yet. Without it, though, Banshee's Veil for protection is nice. Everfrost for control is not bad. Chameleon's Necklace, you just get more copies of him. Or, yeah, Starchild. Also Z-Drive. Yeah, there's a lot of different ones for the common relic. But the rare relics are pretty well established, in my opinion. Alright, last up we have Vi. Vi, pretty simple. It's generally going for Gatebreaker. I think I'll go for Gatebreaker and potentially Wriggles as well. Because with Wriggles, you want to have your unit in hand stacking up, and that's already what you're trying to do for Vi. So I think for rare relics, unless anyone has a better recommendation, I think I'll probably go with these. And then as far as commons, probably want to stick with Chameleons just because you really need to have your Vi in your opening hand. So making sure you have enough copies of her to activate that is... Overwhelm could be there, yeah. Quick Attack, possibly. Quick Attack or Overwhelm, maybe. Yeah. For the common. Yeah, I guess we'll throw in a Stormrazor. Yeah, there's going to be some champions where it's very simple and straightforward, where it's like, okay, these are kind of the best, moving on. Then there's going to be other ones where it's like, well, there's a lot of different ways you can play it, and there's not really some relics that are too much better than others. Alright, I think we've been over all the champions, though, which is great. Impact levels Vi. No, but with Vi, you're already... It all counts as one strike, so it's your hit. Impact, I don't think factors in that at all. But with Vi and your star powers, you're already stacking impact, and then Vi, when she's leveled, is already kind of triggering impact as well. So impact just works pretty well on Vi. To be honest, though, I would quite often just go for like double Gatebreaker and then try to buff her up as much as possible with champion items during the adventure. But if you don't want to go for Gatebreaker, Wriggles is like an alternative. All right, thank you all for helping. This is going to be a video that's going to be coming out over the next couple days. I still have to record and edit the whole thing, which, with talking about every single champion and these builds, takes a while. So it'll still be a little bit, especially because I need to get the monthly challenge guide done, which I need to record that today. So it'll still be a little bit before this comes out, but little teaser for the future. Thank you all for hanging out and helping with me for a bit. Been streaming for almost 3 hours, and I have some videos to record. So thank you, and we'll be streaming the rest of the week. But hope you all have a great rest of your day. See ya.